Hey guys, Eli Rose here. So part of my journey to 90 miles per hour at 40 years old is the application piece. So I'm going through Driveline's velocity development program. The other part of it is the education piece, which is actually more important to me. As I go through the Driveline velocity throwing program, I'm also taking a Foundations of Pitching course offered by Driveline, which will ultimately certify me as a Driveline pitching instructor. But as I go through the education, the re-education on pitching, I'm going to have some paradigm shifts. The way things were taught back in my playing days, my last professional baseball game was in 2006, have drastically changed. So as I have these paradigm shifts, I'm going to make some short videos like this, documenting them, addressing them. And the most recent paradigm shift that I experienced was short arm action versus long arm action. So back in my day, if you short arm the ball as a pitcher, that was a cardinal sin of pitching. Nowadays, not so much. So back in my day, and this is how I coached my son and his teammates, his T-ball teammates, when they first started throwing, was to have a long arm action. If God blessed you with the long wingspan, and he did me, I'm 6'2", I have a long wingspan, utilize it. Get a long lever, get a long arm. So when the hands separate, when the hands break, push that ball down, back up, get it pointed towards second base, wave at your girlfriend out in center field. And as I started teaching my son and his teammates how to do that, I started watching baseball again about that same time. And I saw some premier pitchers doing something I thought was odd. They would start with their forearm, when their ball was in the glove before their hands separated, they would start with their forearm in a neutral, almost supinated looking position. And when they broke their hands, they would never get that ball pointed towards second base. They would have a short arm action and that ball would stay in that neutral, almost supinated position. Driveline believes that both a short arm action like I just described and a long arm action are okay as long as it's an efficient arm action and you effectively perform three tasks. The first of three tasks is having the throwing arm elbow retract the throwing side scap. You want to maximize scap retraction. The second task is the throwing hand is neutral in respect to the forearm when it becomes vertical. And the third is you want your elbow to slightly climb upwards to initiate external shoulder rotation. So as long as those three tasks are effectively completed, both short arm action and long arm action are okay. So when I started this Driveline's velocity development program, I had never thrown a weighted ball. I had never thrown a plyo ball. That was frowned upon back in my days. When I first picked up a 2-pound ball, one of the 2-pound plyo balls and the 4-pound plyo ball, I was legitimately scared to get that ball back like I had thrown in the past, thrown in my playing days. I was afraid it was going to tear up my shoulder. So as a result, when I started throwing those weighted plyo balls, I shortened up. I naturally shortened up my arm action out of fear for not wanting to rip my shoulder off of my body. So I adopted a shorter arm action naturally after throwing the weighted balls. So I wanted to dig a bit deeper into this. I started Google searching this theory. I wanted to see if any major league pitchers experienced a similar thing. So I came across a guy named Lucas Giolito. I think that's how you say his last name, Lucas, Lucas Giolito, Giolito. He's a Chicago White Sox pitcher, and back in the 2018, I believe it was 2018 season, he started a weighted ball program, a weighted baseball throwing program. As a result, he experienced the same thing. His arm action naturally shortened up. As a result of that, he claims he feels healthier, more comfortable, and he actually gained some velocity from the shorter arm action. Later on in that same article, it names a pitcher named Neil Ramirez, who did the same thing back in 2014, and within 3 weeks, he went from throwing 93 with a long arm action to hitting 97 with a short arm action. So there's some merit behind this. And if you look at Driveline's prodigy, Trevor Bauer, he definitely has a shorter arm action. You can definitely see that his throwing elbow is the driver of his throwing side scap retraction. So this is legit. It's in practice. I feel better. My arm feels healthier with the shorter arm action. So this was a big paradigm shift for me. It went from, in my mind, having a short arm action being a cardinal sin of pitching to something that I'm seeing increased velocity from major leaguers, and I'm personally feeling better myself. So again, big paradigm shift. To recap, short arm action, long arm action, both okay, as long as the 3 tasks I mentioned earlier in the video are effectively executed. Big paradigm shift for me, as I have more paradigm shifts like this, as I'm sure I will as I go through the Foundations of Pitching course. I'll make some videos like this documenting them. Appreciate the time. Look forward to talking to you guys again soon.